Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Building Chicken Coops for Dummies by Todd Brock, Dave Zook, and Rob Ludlow. Narrated by Stephen J. Cohen. Introduction. Which came first, the chicken or the coop? Did you get into raising your own chickens because you were lured into the idea of free farm-fresh eggs, or swayed by your kid's desire for a few cute little fluff balls scratching about in the backyard, and only then realize that you need a place for them to actually live? Or are you just now thinking of getting into chickens and estimating housing costs as part of your research, knowing that you'd better have a proper shelter ready to go before you come home with a box full of chicks? Whichever came first for you, the desire to adopt chickens or the need to provide them with a coop, welcome. Chicken owners are a particularly self-reliant and improvisational bunch. It's about making do and adapting. You get paid back in eggs, the equivalent of just a few bucks a month. So the vast majority of caretakers go to great lengths to keep chicken keeping a low-cost hobby. The whole endeavor is meant to make you just a little more self-sufficient. Why spend gobs of cash to do it in the first place? Maybe that helps explain why so many chicken folks build their own coops. Sure, you can purchase a pre-built shelter for your birds, and some awfully nice ones at that. But for many, that goes against the whole reason they got into hens to begin with. Why pay for something that you can provide for yourself? And if you're clever enough and self-sufficient enough to see the benefits of raising chickens, you can indeed build your own chicken coop. About this book. Do some nosing around about building your own chicken coop, and you're likely to come away a little frustrated. Lots of books pontificate about how easy it is to build a working coop. Countless websites offer photos of shelters and first-hand accounts of the building process from the caretakers, but what almost none of them offer is instruction on how to do it. A soup-to-nuts guide for the marginally handy homeowner on what a coop needs, why it needs those things, and how to actually build it yourself. You can find all the answers you need in this easy-to-digest book, and you don't have to listen to it cover to cover. Need a quick overview of chicken coops in general? You don't have to wade through instructions on how to frame a roof to get it. Looking for a rundown of building materials to consider. It's not lumped in with step-by-step directions for constructing a chicken run. Topics are broken down into separate sections and covered in just the right amount of detail. And in Part 3 of this book, you find something that no one else will give you: complete building plans for not one, not two, but 5 different chicken coops. They vary in size and shape, and each has its own unique features that make it special, but everything you need to construct each one of them is right there. A detailed list of what to buy, exact specs on how to cut the lumber, and precise assembly instructions. The chicken coop seems to constantly evolve over its lifespan. It's always a work in progress. We hope this book becomes a valuable reference tool for you, even after your coop is built and your chickens have moved in. There's plenty of good advice in here on a number of issues that come up for every caretaker, and a wealth of ideas for making your perfect chicken coop even better. Conventions used in this book. Before we get started, you should be aware of a few certain conventions, that is, standard formatting techniques, that were used in this book. We used 12D and 7D nails to build our coops, so that's what we reference in this book, but some areas of the country may see different sizes, more commonly stocked in stores and used on job sites. If you have trouble finding 12D and 7D nails in your region, Feel free to substitute 16D and 8D nails, respectively. What you're not to hear. Skimmers rejoice. Not every single word in this book is absolutely necessary in order to come away with a working knowledge of how to build your own chicken coop. Sometimes we include a funny story or a fascinating bit of trivia just to provide you with some interesting dinner table conversation. Those things are put in what we call sidebars. Skip them if you want, but don't come crying to us if you make it on a game show someday and lose in the final lightning round. And while we've tried to keep this book as accessible and easy to understand as possible, sometimes we had to get just a bit technical. These places are marked with a technical stuff icon, and while they may offer in-depth background information, they're not packed with make-or-break details that will ruin your coop if you don't commit them to memory. Foolish assumptions. Our mothers told us never to assume, but we've ignored that bit of advice, as well as the one about waiting a half hour between eating and swimming. That one's just dumb. In trying to tailor this book to you, we've had to make some assumptions about who you are. Here's what we think. You either already own chickens, or are seriously considering owning chickens to house on your own property. You already know enough about raising chickens that we don't have to spend time on the choosing, feeding, and caring of a flock. If you're new to chickens or simply want a great reference guide that deals with these issues, check out Raising Chickens for Dummies by Kimberly Willis and Rob Ludlow. You are either a somewhat competent DIYer, do-it-yourselfer, or eager enough to learn some basic skills that the idea of constructing your own chicken coop is within your abilities. You don't have to be a highly skilled craftsman or own a workshop full of top-end tools, but you should know which end of a hammer to hold and have a basic level of carpentry knowledge. If you need to call a handyman to hang a picture, construction of your own coop may be a bit of a stretch for you. You should be familiar with schematic drawings and how to build from them. We also include step-by-step instructions to round out the instructions you get from the schematics. You're not looking to become a commercial chicken farmer who needs to build an industrial-size coop. The largest coop we provide plans for can accommodate 30 birds, and the advice we offer throughout the book pertains to the backyard chicken keeper. How this book is organized. We've tried to compartmentalize all the information in this book in a logical and organized way to help you quickly find the piece of info you need. This allows you to dive headfirst into a single, particular topic, and then go back to whatever you were doing. But you can also listen straight through from front to back, if you prefer. Think of it like a multiple-course meal. If you want to sit down and start with the soup and salad, move on to the appetizer, fill up on the main entree and accompanying side dishes, finish with a nice dessert, and top it off with a fancy cheese or cup of coffee, go right ahead. But if all you're looking for is just a quick bite of cake, we've arranged it so you can get that, too. The book features 4 parts, with several chapters in each part. Each chapter is broken down into smaller, more digestible sections that are easily identified by headings in bold type. Part 1. All Cooped Up. These chapters take a broad view approach to what you need to know in order to start the coop building process. Chapter 2 looks at the basics, what a chicken coop should provide, what it needs from a location, and how a few common coop styles stack up. Chapter 3 is your primer on the tools you'll need. Chapter 4 runs down some popular building materials, and Chapter 5 helps you hone your skills by teaching some solid carpentry techniques. Part 2. Constructing a Coop. This part breaks down the building of a coop into phases. Truth be told, though, The info here doesn't apply only to chicken coops. This is solid how-to knowledge that you could put to use in building a tool shed, garden hut, greenhouse, playhouse, or potting shed. Chapter 6 is all about prepping the site, whether that means just clearing away some yard debris or digging post holes and pouring concrete footings for an elevated structure. In Chapter 7, you tackle framing, the subfloor, the stud walls, doorways, and window openings, even roof rafters. Chapter 8 adds exterior walls, build your own door and window units, and a roof. We get into chicken-specific elements in Chapter 9, building a roost bar, constructing nest boxes, and adding a ramp at the door. We review runs in Chapter 10 and spark some thoughts about adding electricity to your coop in Chapter 11. Part 3. Checking out coop plans. This part features 5 unique coops and gives detailed instructions on how to build each one. We start with a quick at-a-glance look at each coop's main advantages, and then provide you with a complete list of building materials, exact directions on how to cut all the lumber, and step-by-step guidance on assembling the pieces. Chapter 12 offers a small coop that can be built with an absolute minimum of materials, effort, and cost. We believe it to be the simplest coop in existence. Chapter 13 features an A-frame coop that includes a run. Chapter 14's tractor coop is meant to be relocated from spot to spot in the yard. In Chapter 15, we give you a small all-in-one coop that you can still walk into yourself. Need more room for a large flock? Turn to Chapter 16, where our biggest coop can house up to 30 birds, yet is still easy enough for a beginner to build. Part 4. The Part of Tens. A For Dummies staple, the Part of Tens, includes some extra takeaway info that just doesn't fit anywhere else in the book. In Chapter 17, we tell you what people who have already built a coop would do differently so that you can learn from their experiences. Chapter 18 gives you some fun wish list items that can be added later to make your chicken raising hobby easier, less messy, and more enjoyable. Icons used in this book. Every For Dummies book features a collection of icons, special graphic symbols set off in the margins that call your attention to key pieces of information. This book uses the following icons. Remember. Remember icons point out info that should be retained for later use. If you take away anything at all from this book, it should be the information marked with this icon. Technical stuff. Technical stuff icons spotlight nerdy background info or otherwise technical talk. It may or may not interest you, and skipping it should have no bearing on your coop building adventure, but it's great party conversation material. Tip. Tips are extra scraps of info or advice. Some help you with a certain skill, tool, or technique. Some offer guidance on a specific building material or practice. Others simply provide food for thought. They're designed to save you money, time, or hassle, maybe even all three. Warning. Warning icons are vitally important because they deal with something that's potentially dangerous or harmful. Safety should be a primary concern in any building project. This icon warrants special attention and should never be skipped over. Beyond the book. In addition to what you're hearing right now, this book comes with a free Access Anywhere cheat sheet. To get this cheat sheet, go to dummies.com and search for Building Chicken Coops for Dummies cheat sheet by using the search box. Where to go from here? This book isn't linear. Feel free to jump around as your needs, questions, and interests dictate. But here are a few suggestions. If you're just starting from scratch on your chicken career, Yes, that was a deliberate pun. We do that a lot. You may want to start with Chapter 1 for a brief overview of what a chicken coop needs to provide and what you need to consider as you decide on one for your flock. If you're ready to start thinking about what materials you might want to pick up from the hardware store so you can start building, flip to Chapter 4. If you'd like a basic tutorial or a refresher course on some good solid carpentry skills that you'll use throughout the build, skip to Chapter 5. If the delivery truck just dropped off a load of lumber and you're not sure where to begin, try Chapter 7 for framing assistance. If you want to get right to checking out the building plans, they appear in Part 3. Part 1. All cooped up. In this part, these chapters lay the groundwork for you to construct your own chicken coop. Chapter 1 provides a quick overview of the entire book. In Chapter 2, we deal with logistical issues, like what your coop needs to have and where it should go, and we also look at some popular coop styles. Use Chapter 3 as a guide to the various tools you'll need to build your coop. As you wade through the various building materials that are available, consult Chapter 4 for our thoughts on what's best. Finally, Chapter 5 puts it all together by walking you through the carpentry skills you have to perform to make your coop a reality. Chapter 1. Flocking to your own chicken coop. In this chapter, thinking through coop basics, looking at tools and building materials, constructing your coop step by step, deciding on a coop style. Regard it as just as desirable to build a chicken house as to build a cathedral. A lovely sentiment, yes. A bit overly dramatic? Perhaps at first glance, until you consider who said it. That quote is attributed to none other than Frank Lloyd Wright, the most famous and celebrated architect in American history. Thinking about a chicken house a little differently now? You obviously take the idea of a chicken coop more seriously than most, or you wouldn't have picked up this book. While we've packed the chapters that follow with everything you need to know about how to design and construct your own coop, this chapter serves as your crash course in what you need to know to build a chicken house that even Frank Lloyd Wright would be proud of. Understanding the basics of housing. A chicken coop is, at its most basic and fundamental, a shelter for your birds. It can be Spartan in its simplicity, a modest or even crude structure that serves its intended purpose, but will never make the cover of Better Coops and Gardens, or it can be grand and elaborate, intricately designed and built from the finest materials, featuring all the bells and whistles imaginable. Remember, while the aesthetics may mean a great deal to you and your family as you embark on your coop-building adventure, the chickens, quite frankly, couldn't give a cluck. To your birds, a new chicken coop needs only to have a few select things going for it. These basics are explored more in depth in Chapter 2 and throughout this book, but here's a quick list of what you need to consider before you start building a coop or settle on a specific design. Shelter. Even wild chickens take cover when the weather turns nasty. If you're going to keep chickens in your suburban backyard, you have to give them a place where they can find shelter from rain, wind, and cold. Protection. Humans aren't the only carnivores who enjoy a finger-licking good chicken dinner every now and again. A primary requirement of any coop is that it effectively offers protection from predators. Space. We say it often in this book because it's a golden rule to always keep in mind. Your coop should provide 2 to 4 square feet of floor space for each bird you keep. Lighting. Chickens need around 14 hours of sunlight every day. They aren't always able to get all of it outdoors. Whether it's via a window, a door, or a skylight, your coop needs to allow some light inside. Ventilation. Chickens poop often, wherever they happen to be when nature calls. The coop will get stinky. You can't prevent that, but you must exhaust that ammonia-saturated air for the health of you and your birds. Cleanliness. Once again, chickens poop. The coop will get messy. You need to think through how you, their caretaker, will take care of that dirty job on a regular basis. Looking at the gear you'll need. We'll be honest. You don't have to construct your own coop. Lots of great companies are out there who will deliver one in any size you need, ready for your flock to move into straight off the truck. You can easily hire a local builder, contractor, or handyman to erect one for you. The only tool you need for these options is a major credit card. But many chicken owners love the challenge, the considerable cost savings, and the hands-on involvement of building their own coop. We're guessing that at least one of these things appeals to you, too, or you wouldn't be listening to this book. Building your own chicken coop may not be as easy as placing an order for a prefab unit, but it's not as difficult as you probably think either. You don't necessarily need a garage full of professional-grade specialty gear, although a few strategically chosen power tools can make the work easier, quicker, and more fun. We dive into tools in Chapter 3, but here's a brief checklist of the stuff you'll really need to have if you want to build your own chicken coop. Safety gear. Gloves, goggles, earplugs, and a tool belt keep you in the backyard building a coop and raising chickens instead of racing to the emergency room. Garden tools. If your coop site is currently occupied by a flower bed or a years-old pile of yard debris, you'll need to do some clearing. A rake and a shovel should suffice in most instances. A mattock, which we cover in more detail in Chapter 3, can chop through buried tree roots. Tape measure and pencil. Without these essential items, you're just guessing at how long a piece of lumber is or where you need to cut it. Saw. Pick your poison, from circular saws to jigsaws, reciprocating saws to table saws, miter saws to hand saws. There are dozens of ways to cut a piece of wood. You'd better have at least one that you feel completely comfortable and fairly adept with. Tools for putting in posts. You may need to dig a few post holes, either for anchoring timber posts that support an elevated walk-in coop, or for the fence posts that define your coop's chicken run. If post holes are in your future, have a post hole digger or a power auger at the ready. You'll probably also need a wheelbarrow and a long-handled tool like a shovel for mixing up and pouring concrete. Hammer. The most basic tool of them all is still the one that most coop builders use most often. Find one you'll be able to swing all day long, but also consider a pneumatic nail gun. Drill. Whether you use it to drive screws or to bore small pilot holes, a powerful drill, preferably with multiple torque settings, is often the only tool that can do the job at hand. Level and square. These tools are used in conjunction with one another as you build, to make sure that all your boards and cuts are straight. Tools for working with wire. Wire mesh is used to enclose a chicken run or sometimes to cover gaps on the coop itself. A sturdy pair of tin snips will help you cut the mesh to whatever size and shape you need. Miscellaneous tools. In addition to the basics already listed, there's a good chance you'll also find a need for things like a utility knife, a pair of sawhorses, and a screwdriver. Choosing coop materials. Chicken owners, by nature, seem to be scroungers, savers, and scavengers. Chicken coops, as a result, are often constructed out of a potpourri of materials: old wooden pallets broken down into individual boards, leftover plywood from a past renovation, mismatched paint from half-empty cans in the basement, spare parts and pieces accumulated over time. These recycled and repurposed one-of-a-kind coops lend each henhouse an improvised, personal touch, and are part of what makes raising backyard chickens such a fascinating hobby for so many. But if you're constructing a coop from scratch, without the benefit of a pre-existing pile of building materials, you'll have some decisions to make. Chapter 4 takes a long, hard look at the different options you'll encounter at the lumber yard, building supply center, or neighborhood hardware store. In the meantime, refer to this short list of the basic materials you'll need to obtain in order to craft a coop of your own. Board lumber. The framework of almost every coop we've ever seen is made up of board lumber. The most common cut is the 2x4, but the slightly smaller 2x3 can help you shave per board costs and cut down on the coop's overall bulk and weight. You may need 2x6s for things like floor joists. If you're elevating your coop off the ground, 4x4s make good corner posts, and thin boards like 1x4s or 1x3s come in handy as trim pieces for doors, windows, and various coop features. Sheet lumber. If board lumber composes the skeleton of the coop, sheet lumber, like plywood, is often used to create the skin. Large pieces, often 4 by 8 feet, come in thin sheets and are used for exterior cladding, as well as flooring and roof sheathing. Fasteners. To put the pieces together, you'll need either nails or screws. Both have pros and cons, and a vast array of fastener types is available to choose from. Don't overlook their importance. It would be a shame for your coop to collapse because you cheaped out on the wrong kind of nails. Flooring materials. Almost all coop owners cover the floor of their shelter with some sort of loose bedding, like pine shavings. But underneath that bedding, many coop floors feature a smooth layer of linoleum or a similar product to make cleanup even easier. Some coop setups may utilize a concrete or dirt floor. Materials for walls. The coop's solid exterior walls are most often made from sheets of thick plywood, either smooth-surfaced or with vertical grooves to create a paneled look. If you'd like to use a siding product similar to what you'd use on a house, see Chapter 8. Roofing materials. Shingles are the classic choice for a roof, but many coop builders use large corrugated panels of metal, fiberglass, or PVC to encourage rainwater to shed away from the coop structure. Wire mesh. This material is so closely associated with chicken coops that chicken wire has become a catch-all term that some use to refer to any type of flexible metal wire mesh. It's used primarily to enclose runs or to provide an open-air screen for the windows or doors of a shelter. Posts. Whether they're supporting the entire structure of an elevated coop or used in fencing application on a chicken run, posts need to be beefy enough to support the load. The most popular builder's choice is 4x4 lumber. Getting up to speed on carpentry. You don't have to be Bob Vila or Ty Pennington, for you younger listeners, to construct a quality coop that your chickens will love and you'll love to show off. But you do need to have a handle on some basic carpentry skills that are instrumental in any building project. Tip: if you're a do-it-yourself DIY rookie or doubt your carpentry skills, take advantage of the years of experience and volumes of knowledge of the employees working the aisles at your local hardware store or home center. They're usually more than happy to walk you through a specific skill or teach you how to use a certain tool. Some of the larger building supply warehouses.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?